Hello, everyone. Well, I'm back at it. A little later than I thought, actually. I expect to be back at it on Thursday or Friday, but nonetheless, here we are. Everything went well. And I want to pick up where we left off, I guess, with Sunday night now. But before we do that, I just want to apologize for my hoarse throat. I guess it's one of the results of surgery. Anyways, having said that, I'll try to get through this without further ado. As you recall, what I was trying to do Sunday night was to show how you could really take any event in your life and you could actually lay it out in a draft format for a screenplay. And so I tried to fill in some details for you Sunday night before this operation or surgery I was going to go under, to show you how you can build it out or build out a draft of a screenplay by using Blake Snyder's beat sheet, which is something I highly recommend that you check out, because it will give you some insight as to what makes a screenplay work, okay? Now, I won't go into rehash everything that I did last Sunday night, except to say that we left off, I believe, which was at the midpoint, which was when I'd arrived at the hospital for the angiogram. That would have been on last Friday. And so we'll pick it up from there. So the midpoint is really where you're going into, I guess, the second act, or I should say, no, I shouldn't say that. It's the midpoint of the second act. And it's a point where things start snowballing, shall we say. So from a midpoint point of view, I arrive for the angiogram. And of course, things start building up to the point where I actually take the angiogram. So it's all of those points that will add scenes to your screenplay. What happened to me from the moment I arrived to the moment the actual angiogram was taken. Now, angiogram is just a fancy word for them pumping a little fluid into you, dye into you, and looking and see what happens to your heart. And see how things are moving, how the blood's flowing through the muscle of your heart, not the blood through your ventricles and whatnot. This is the blood that actually feeds the muscle called the heart. So, and there were a lot of things that led to that. You have to do EKGs, you have to do blood tests, you have to get ready for the actual angiogram. They're either going to do it by going in through the groin, or they're going to do it by going in back of the hand. In this case, they went in the back of the hand, so they have to shave that area, etc. And there's waiting, and there's all sorts of other things you have to do and take and so on. I won't go into those details, but every one of those details could be a scene in that sort of build-up after the 55th page of your screenplay that takes you to the 75th page, which is the all is lost. Now, in this case, the all is lost, as I think I alluded to last Sunday night, was when the doctor doing the angiogram called in a couple of other doctors. They were chatting behind a booth, actually. I could see their lips moving behind the glass. And then they came out and they said, well, we know what the problem is, but unfortunately it's going to mean that we're going to have to go in. It's going to be open heart surgery. And I thought, oh, all right, so what does that mean? Certainly not something I came to have done. It was something that was just supposed to end up with me going home at 6 o'clock that night with the worst case would be a stent in your heart, a balloon, so to speak, with a little metal fiber in it or a little metal framework in it that opens up the artery itself. That would have been the worst case scenario. So now I'm faced with a larger worst case scenario, a more, shall we say, a defined worst case scenario, and certainly more serious worst case scenario. So anyway, that would take us to what then we call the bad guys close in. Now, bad guys close in means that, oh my God, things are getting worse. Things are going downhill. What else can go wrong, etc., etc. And now all of those things leading up to the point where I actually meet the surgeon are going to be points, again, scenes in the layout from the midpoint on at page 55 right through the bad guys close in to the end of that, which will be page 75, where you hit the all is lost. Now, for me, the all is lost occurred Sunday night at about 8 o'clock. I heard that I'd been assigned my surgeon. The surgeon came in. Geez, a big guy, 6'6" maybe. really nice guy. And he said, very simply, he said, okay, so we might as well get right down to business here. This is a serious operation. But out of every 100 of these we do, we have success rates of 98%. And then he quickly added, which now that I reflect on it was funny. At the time, I'm not sure it was so funny. He said, but of course, that doesn't matter to the 2%. So I'm thinking, oh, all right. And so everything leading up to this point of meeting him was my, shall we say, excuse me, dark night of the soul scenes. Okay, it was how the cardio specialist came in and said, we're trying to find this particular doctor. He's good at this, etc., etc. We try to reschedule him to make sure that he's available. You are a priority, and so on. All those meetings that I had with vascular surgeons, etc., and all occurred really over a matter of hours. Once it was decided that we were to go for Sunday morning or for Monday morning first thing, and so each one was a little more, shall we say, scary, painful, whatever it is. And then for me, the all is lost moment, which occurs on page 75, the sort of darkest moment, on page 85, I should say, the darkest moment in this case, was when he said, so, I asked him, like, well, you know, what exactly is this involved? He said, well, it's open heart bypass surgery. And I said, so we're going to do bypass? He said, nope, 2, probably 3, maybe even 4. We won't know until we get in there. That's exactly what he said, which was, at the time, again, a little scary. I kind of never thought they would be sort of wing it as they go along with something like this. But he was a very confident guy. And, you know, when I look at it in retrospect, I really didn't have anything to worry about at the time. I mean, they certainly know what they're doing. Anyway, that was a very all is lost sort of dark night of the soul moment for me. But then, of course, you know, you want to sort of stretch this out too, and so you've got to build up to the actual surgery itself, right? And of course, that would be at 7 o'clock in the morning. So it's all those little things that might go wrong. And in my case, a couple little things did go wrong. I didn't know about it at the time, but they tell me later. You know, my hemoglobin count was down for some reason, no, not why. They also were a little concerned that there was a stent that had been put in my heart about 10 years ago. And so they were going to try to, since it's already 10 years old, they can't take it out. So that would be one of the bypasses, I guess, that they were talking about. And so on, etc. So you can find out what these are. I didn't bother finding out. I didn't want to know after it was all done. But you can find out what these things are. And they become scenes to this moment where you actually go under the knife. And it's got to be to the point where, to be really, really sort of a hot and heavy screenplay, you really want to, it's like, this guy's not going to make it, right? Now, that wasn't the case for me. I don't want to be melodramatic about it. But you know, that's the way you want to build it. So that when, in fact, you break into the third page, guess what? You know, the doctor did his job. The patient survives. The patient is in recovery, thanking all the people who worked with him on it, the nurses and so on, etc. And then you have what's called, that begins with the break into 3. And then you have what's called the final image, which is on page 110. You're looking at a screenplay of maybe 110 pages. That's the idea. Each page is roughly a minute. So if you've got 110, you know, you're looking at maybe what, an hour and 40 minutes as a screenplay. I like them around 90 minutes actually, so it should be around 90 pages. But that's just me. Anyway, so you've got this final image, and you want to make it's a final image that sort of runs contrary to the image that was your opening image. So now, whereas the opening image was a guy holding his chest and obviously having some kind of a heart malfunction, to this guy standing on his balcony, as I think I alluded to last week. He's got his partner with him, His dog's sitting beside him. They're looking out over the city, maybe at night or something. And, you know, life is great, isn't it? I mean, that's the whole idea of the cycle of the screenplay. I don't think we have to go into any more detail with this, and I don't think we have to rehash it anymore. Again, the point really is just very much this. Take any point in your life. It doesn't have to be extraordinary. It can be a very ordinary event in your life, but you can make it extraordinary through the way you present it. And that's really what it's all about in writing. Unfortunately, a lot of writers sit and wait for some extraordinary event to occur in their life so they can write about it. Well, guess what? They're probably never going to write at all. So just dig in and constantly look at events in your life, and then do rough-ups or drafts of beat sheets. You might have 50 of them floating around at any given time. And you know what? One of them might just turn into a very successful screenplay that may be picked up and made into a movie. Okay? So that's it for tonight. I got to go to bed. I just got out last night late. So I'm going to get a good 10 or 12 hours sleep tonight. And I'll get back at this hopefully sometime midday tomorrow. Okay? So we'll see you then. Take care. Bye-bye.